Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Life Cycle Podcast, and I'd like to introduce or let him introduce himself. The 7 year, 7 month veteran, number of completion. I'd like him to introduce himself to us.
Hey, how y'all doing? My name is Robert. I'm 28 years old. I'm from Valdosta, Georgia. And yeah, there's just a little bit about myself. I go to school for design and media technology, and I'm about to be a freelance videographer once I get done with school.
Awesome. Okay, can you? So, as the previous shows, I'd like to start off with the past and then build up to the present and then eventually to the future. Can you tell me a little bit about your past, just the monumental things that's happened in your life and just things that, that kind of influenced who you are today?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna start all the way at the beginning then, because for me, I know coming out the womb, I had problems like comprehending and stuff like that, and
Hmm.
yeah, you know what I mean. It just pretty hard in and out of the
Yeah.
doctor because they didn't know what was wrong with me, and
Hmm.
I'm not gonna go too much into it, but it's like it got so bad that I was getting picked on at school because I kept asking questions about
Hmm.
just simple stuff, like first grade, well, 2 plus 2, and then getting
Hmm.
multiplication and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
my brother, he stuck up for me a good amount of times, but it was like my brother's 3 years older than me. So there was times when my brother
Hmm.
wasn't there because I was in elementary school and he was in middle school. So
Hmm.
yeah, it just that. And I mean, other than that, it was just pretty normal. You know what I mean? It's just
Hmm.
just hard because people are cruel,
Yeah.
really cruel. I'll
Hmm.
give you an example. When people are talking about what your parents do for a living.
Yeah.
Well, when they asked what my parents do for a living, I told them my dad was a CO. And
Hmm.
you know how that goes. Oh, if your dad's a CO, he must be a blankety blank blank.
Hmm.
So, snitch, coward, this, that, and the third. And, you almost get into fights because of that. And it was hard, but I did my due diligence to at least half the time to stand up for myself. And
Hmm.
again, it was hard. So skip forward a little bit to going to high school, getting ready to graduate, and I'm ready to get out of my town. I should have told you where I was raised. I wasn't raised in Valdosta, Georgia. I grew up an hour east of called Waycross because my dad was a CO at one of the prisons nearby. So
Hmm.
again, back to high school, I was ready to get out of Waycross. I got tired of the word broke being thrown around so much. Got tired of
Hmm.
people, calling me out of my name and stuff like that. Connections. What I mean by connections is just how you live in a small town or no?
I live in a small town, yes. Probably like 1,200 people or so.
All right, so you probably understand. So you know how everybody knows everybody, and if you don't have that connection, you basically can't get no ahead in that town. That's how it was in
I
Waycross, Georgia.
Okay. I understand the concept.
So that's why I want to get out of Waycross, Georgia so bad. And I had the grades to go to
Hmm.
college, but my parents, and it's nothing against them, they're so bogged down with I guess money issues, and at the time they're going through marriage problems.
Hmm.
So that's why I want to join the Air Force, because I want to get out of South Georgia and the things I just told you a couple minutes ago. And
Hmm.
it wasn't hard to get into the Air Force. It's just the fact that I wish I could have waited just a little bit longer because I didn't get the job I wanted. Because
Hmm.
again, just didn't get the job I wanted
Okay.
because I rushed.
So what do you mean by that?
Well, recruiter is basically like a salesperson. He sells you a job and then
Hmm.
you get into the Air Force. So
Hmm.
my recruiter told me about this job called services, and I thought he was talking about medical service, almost like you know what a not a medical aid, but you know what a nurse is. I thought I was
Yeah.
going to become something similar to that
Okay.
or a medical assistant. I thought I was going to be
Mhm.
something like that. But when he showed me what it was on Moody Air Force Base, man, he actually took me out to Moody Air Force Base in Georgia, not even 20
Mhm.
minutes away from where I live. And
Mhm.
I seen nothing but chaos, man. It was bad. People were cussing each
Mhm.
other out over baked beans. You know, the person in charge was wore out.
Yeah.
It was bad. And I wasn't even paying attention to Tech Sergeant was saying, man, because I was seeing all that was going on. And I was like, do I really want to do this? Because
Mhm.
it's either stay in Waycross, Georgia, or deal with that when I get in the Air Force. That way I could become a better man on the other side of that.
Mm. I like
That's
that.
what I was thinking at 17 years old. But
Mhm.
my parents at the time were thinking like they didn't want me to suffer like I was suffering basically in elementary or middle or high school, you know, getting picked on and
Mhm.
stuff all the time.
Mhm.
Because to be honest, man, that's the culture of the military sometimes. You know, chaos like that. I had a discussion with my parents and it was it was pretty good discussion. But I ultimately decided to still join the Air Force because of what I said about making myself better. Fast forward a little bit and go to the Air Force after I graduate high school, about 3 months afterwards, and I get the Lackland Air Force Base in Texas. I'll tell you what, man, it's it was a different ball game. Now I'm not racist or anything,
Yeah.
so you probably already know where it's about to go. Yeah, there's a lot of people, at least when I saw in basic, that was racist, and they're unfortunately skin tones weren't the same, and they didn't come
Mhm.
from an environment where respect was taught, or
Mhm.
you're not supposed to be prejudiced towards a certain skin tone or a certain culture. So with that
Mhm.
being said, you got called the N word. You saw a story on my YouTube, somebody wiped their nuts with
Yeah.
my toe and stuff like that, and they call me dumb and slow because of what I
Yeah.
told you, what happened in
Yeah.
when I was in elementary school,
Mhm.
and it was bad. And on top of that, people try to come on to you sexually. You,
Mm.
I thought it was bad then. It's really bad now, but that's a different story. But yeah, I get through that. And other than what I just told you, it was pretty self straightforward once I got used to the routine and everything, and I was able to graduate basic training, not with honors, but I graduated anyway. Yeah, you got anything to ask about that?
What did your mom do?
What did my mom do? She was a
Yeah.
secretary
For
at
take.
one of the clinics in Waycross, Georgia. So yeah, she basically got the appointment set up and everything.
Okay. So from growing up, I mean, it seems hinting that everything was kind of racially motivated. I mean, I've never been to Georgia. I've never even, I mean, but I've heard stuff. But is that what basically happened during your time there, or well, or you just normal people, or just everybody basically clicked on you?
Pretty much everybody to an extent, because I'll get to that
Yeah.
once I talk about a little bit about tech school, and then when I get to South Korea. But yeah, it was basically
Hmm.
mostly everybody because of they didn't like my
Hmm.
personality because they thought they wanted me, have my pants sagging halfway off my butt and act like them and stuff like
Mm.
that. And you
Hmm.
see, I'm
Okay.
pretty halfway formal, and I have
Hmm.
a non-typical personality to, I guess, what they call the average black person. So yeah, just dealing with that was pretty much a struggle.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
is what it is, man.
So I understand. So I said, how has your parents influenced you in the decisions you made in your life? Well.
Well, I came to them to for advice throughout most of my life, but it came to a point in
Hmm.
time where well, there's no disrespect to them or anything, but it came to a point in time in my life where sometimes the decisions, the advice they gave me was a detriment towards my future. Say for instance, like when I got to I'll get to the South Korea part in a minute, but I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. When I got to back from South Korea to Georgia, I got a second car because my first car was in the shop all the time, and against
Hmm.
better judgment, instead of getting a reliable cash car, which I had the money for, I had to get $500 $600 car payments, and that was pretty tough one, especially as a E3 don't make that much money. So
Hmm.
that's what I'm talking about right there. Just just going against better judgment. And the same thing goes with and I'm talking in general now. Sometimes either a parent's advice or either elders advice can go against the word of God, and sometimes you have to follow God instead of following
Amen.
them in
Yes,
order
sir.
to get forward in life. So that's what I mean by that. Yeah. So you want me to go ahead and start explaining back to tech school and South Korea and stuff like that?
I said, before you talk about that, let's talk about how you became a Christian. So tell me the beginning, and then you can talk about South Korea.
See, that's what I was saying. South Korea is part of that. That's where I got born again at.
Okay. So let's
So
fly to South Korea right now then.
all right. So I get through tech school. That wasn't too much. It's just the fact that the volunteer hours I did, it didn't count. So again, I get to South Korea and there's more
Hmm.
problems that I was willing to admit. It was hard for me to pay attention to detail, and I couldn't take constructive criticism without
Hmm.
flying off the handle. Just cussing people out and stuff like that, calling somebody the B word and
Hmm.
4-letter words that you're not gonna say on this podcast.
Hmm.
And it got to a point where people were going to it got to a point where I was about to get an Article 15, and those in the military know what an Article 15 is. And fast forward a little bit, we get to September 2014, and I'm just sitting there laying in my bed, like, is there more to life than this? I need to stop doing this, but I don't know how. And it's like, just woke up one day from a nap because I was off that day, and it was a Sunday,
Hmm.
and it just reminded me of that time where I got witness to, well, somebody told me about Jesus when I was 11 years old, but it kind of threw me
Hmm.
back, thinking back, it threw me back because I didn't know. I knew I knew who Jesus was, but I didn't know what to do with it in my heart because he didn't explain it to me. I think he was just
Yeah.
repeating what his parents were telling him, because his parents went to
Hmm.
church. My friend's
Hmm.
parents went to church and stuff like that. But anyways, it also reminded me of that time where I was at a volunteer event in Korea. It's called Korean American Partnership Association, where we pick up trash and we also go to events and play with kids and stuff like that. And network with Koreans, just do business
Hmm.
with Koreans and things like that. And the host of the thing, he was telling me about this church that that's on the backside of the base. And
Hmm.
it's basically I get volunteer hours for it. So I was like, yeah, I take the volunteer hours, but at the time where I was thinking about the what's more to life than this, I wasn't thinking about the volunteer hours. I was thinking about
Yeah.
how can I make my life better.
Hmm.
So, you know, hopped up out of bed, going back to September 2014. I shower, put my clothes on, and instead of taking a cab over there, since we're not allowed to have a car in South Korea, I ran three
Hmm.
miles to the church,
Wow.
full speed.
Wow. Hmm.
So and that pretty much negated the shower because I was funky by the time I got there, but nonetheless, but nonetheless, man, it's like it's it's pretty it got pretty serious because the pastor, he started preaching on hell,
Hmm.
and he was talking about you're gonna go to hell if you don't get saved. And then he talked about Mark chapter I think it's 9, and he went to Luke chapter 15, and talked about the rich man and Lazarus and just
Hmm.
other stories like that. And I was like, man, I ain't trying to burn in hell. I mean, I already knew where I was going, but man, you didn't have to rub
Yeah.
it in my face. But I still continued to go because he explained it so thoroughly, unlike the
Hmm.
preachers on the base or preachers in bigger cities where they just want the cash,
Yeah.
you know. So that's why I decided to go back, because I knew he was genuine and he really wanted me to do right and be right.
Amen.
But so fast forward a little bit, a couple months, and I'm at my breaking point at this time. And, I was talking some crazy stuff, you know, not to the, not to my leadership at the job, but it's at, just to the therapist I was going to at the time. Like,
Hmm.
oh, I'm going to do this to this person. I'm going to do that to that person. And I'm going to off myself and just this, that, and the third. And I'm surprised they ain't put me in inpatient treatment right then and there for talking crazy. But but they're about to give me Article 15 again. It's pretty good what God did. Because
Amen.
well, I'm gonna back up just a little bit. Before I got saved, there's a situation where I basically butt work, where I just rolled back over, turned my alarm off, and went to sleep. Well,
Mm.
military, they don't have that. They don't want that.
Hmm.
So they pretty much bust my door down. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to jump out the window. I already had a bag ready. I wanted to jump out the
Hmm.
window, get on a plane, and basically go back home to the States. But by the time I looked out the window, there's a police dog sitting there, police dog and a police dog handler sitting there looking dead at me. I'm just sitting there like, what, man? So
Like,
that
did they know that you were planning on escaping? I guess, or what?
I guess so, because it wasn't there by the time work started, because I had to be at work at 4 a.m. By
Yeah.
7 a.m., yeah, that dog handler was sitting there just looking dead at me, making sure I didn't go out the window. But yeah, fast forward a couple hours, and I had a chair about the size of I can't show you, but it's about the size of this chair right here that I'm sitting on. And I had a couple of those in front of the door, make sure nobody got in. But
Hmm.
first sergeant, he's about your size and got a lot of muscle
Hmm.
and stuff. So he was able to get through that door no problem.
Yeah.
And he pretty much yelled at me, told me to go to work and stuff. He didn't care about that, about my depression, none of that. Broke down, start crying. He didn't care about that. So
I'm sorry.
so it's all right. But
Oh.
yeah, it's the fact that just that right there. I could have,
Hmm.
said some ugly things and stuff like that, but again, I was at my breaking point. So once that episode happened, that night actually, I got down on my knees and asked Jesus to change my
Mm.
heart and save my soul, because it's like
Amen.
I got tired. I got
Hmm.
tired.
Yeah.
And after that, it's like I went from this way to that way.
Hmm.
And I guess work noticed immediately, because I wasn't acting out every other day. I'm just
Hmm.
doing my job and about my business.
Yeah.
And then I still had to face the music about my skipping out on work like that, but it wasn't no
Hmm.
article. It was just a regular reprimand that goes away after 6 months.
Mm.
So yeah, that's the story about me getting born again, a little bit of the aftermath afterwards.
Amen. That's awesome. Um, can you? Okay. So my question was, so what caused you to do that? What caused you to have those kind of emotions or depressions or just throughout that whole time before you got saved?
Uh, I'm gonna tell you three things right now. This could be probably a lesson for the young teens and people watching. Number one, I was
Hmm.
watching the wrong stuff.
Okay.
Number two, I was following the wrong crowd. And number
Hmm.
three, I was doing whatever I wanted to do and not following directions and not following authority. So if
Hmm.
you do the complete opposite of that, your life can be changed around, whether you are born again Christian or not.
Hmm.
So that's why those emotions were building up, because it was a combination of that, and also me not dealing with my own trauma and issues of when I was younger, you
Hmm.
know, people picking on me and stuff like that. So yeah, to answer your question, just a combination of those 3 to 4 things.
To get done, I mean, yeah, you're not part of that anymore, but do you still get picked on, or has all that over stopped? And how do you handle that?
Just talk to them like a man. Like there was a situation that happened when I was in school, and they're kind of picking on me, and I just pulled them to the side. I said, "Hey, you can't be doing that. That's not
Mm.
right." And they were younger and a little bit immature, and he respected that and he stopped right then and there. So
I love that.
it's just like what I forget who said it, but it was in Matthew where you can pull a person aside and deal with the issues in private, and then if you
Mm-hmm.
need one more
Mm-hmm.
person as a witness, you go
Amen.
about it that way. And I was able to do it
Mm-hmm.
that way, and it ended the situation like that.
Amen. Awesome. That's awesome. So, okay, question now is what motivated, let's move to the present and transition to that. And so what interested you to get into media and all that choreography and stuff like that? Not choreography, but get into media aspect.
Yeah, that's an easy question. So I was in New Mexico, and COVID started. This is after my
That place.
health issues leveled out a little bit, and I'm just sitting in my car, just sitting there looking at the canyons and stuff like that, and I was bored.
Mm-hmm.
So I just started driving, looking at the sights and the sceneries. Couldn't leave the state, but
Mm-hmm.
it was beautiful nonetheless. And then one day I was at the BX. That's basically like a mini mall or a Walmart
Mm-hmm.
in military
Mm-hmm.
terms. So I saw a good camera that was supposed to be $700 for
Mm-hmm.
$200. So I snatched
Oh,
that up
nice.
so quick, and yeah,
They thought you
yeah.
stole it.
I thought it was I thought it was pretty weird too. That it was $500 cheaper. But yeah, we got that two
Wait,
hundred dollar camera.
this was during the military? This was sorry, this was during the military?
Yeah,
Okay, okay. Keep on.
yeah. So once I bought that camera for a bargain, I just started recording on my record my
YouTube.
videos on my yep, there it is. Record my videos on YouTube, and you know
Uh-huh.
put my camera on the dashboard and just started doing it from there. And that
Mm-hmm.
also led to me going to school because I wanted to learn more of it in a professional sense. That way I'll
Mm-hmm.
know how to, because I didn't really know how to edit videos. I knew how to record, but I didn't know
Yeah.
how to edit.
Mm-hmm.
So me having a GI Bill and stuff like that, once I got out of the military medically, um school was covered for free, and they give you a free $1,100 every single month. That's not a bad deal.
Good.
So
Yeah, I'll take that.
I was able to go to school and get my media degree.
Okay. So you already graduated and you're already done with all that?
Yeah. I
Awesome.
didn't I walk in a couple of months, but as far as all my courses, I'm pretty much done.
Mm-hmm. And what was that, like a 2-year program or
It was a
a
2-year
4-year?
program.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's pretty easy. I had all my core classes just about done when I started, so that's why it didn't take
Mm-hmm.
so long.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about relationships. From relationship from your brother, your parents, and then let's transition to like marriage and girlfriend dating, that kind of atmosphere.
All right, so where you want me to start?
Start from your brother, work up to your parents, and then to dating girls,
So
obviously.
yeah, so me and my brother are pretty close. We text every day and stuff like that, and we talk to each
Hmm.
other every couple of weeks or so because he's a truck driver, so it's pretty hard to get a hold of him all the time, especially
Hmm.
he ain't supposed to be talking and driving, so especially when he's on the clock. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, we're pretty close, and at the same time we are pretty different. We got different lives, especially
Hmm.
when I became born again, and just leave it at that.
Hmm. Okay. How how important is that relationship to you?
It's very important because he showed me a lot about how to deal with different types of people, and without that, I'll just be like a robot. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, I'll go ahead and move on to my parents. Now, my mom, she helped me out a lot, especially in the
Hmm.
beginning years, because I'm gonna just go ahead and say this. She in the most early years, she kept me out the special needs class because they thought I was that slow
Hmm.
comprehending stuff. But
Hmm.
if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be able to join the Air Force and things like that.
Hmm.
And if it wasn't for my dad, dads are important because they're the head of the household, and he showed me how
Amen.
to do a lot. So
Hmm.
yeah, I probably would have fell into that even more worse crowd if it wasn't for my dad being in my life. And my parents are
Hmm.
still together. They've been together almost 30
Amen.
years. So
Amen. Good.
yeah, that's why I kind of looked at them for at least sometimes for relationship advice because you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Hmm. Okay, and that's so awesome that you covered that. And I was gonna ask you about, why is it so important to have a father in the boy's life, And I was gonna ask you about that, but it's awesome that you covered that. Can you tell me more about that if you could think of some things at the top of your head?
Just simple stuff like that women, not nothing against them, they probably can do it too, but it's more physically demanding. So things like mowing the yard, you know
Mm-hmm.
shaving, trimming your face and stuff like that. What
Mm-hmm.
else? Construction type work. Women again, they can do that, but it's more physically demanding on their body, and that's when
Mm-hmm.
the man comes in to
Mm-hmm.
be able to provide that for and teach their children those type of things. That way, they could be more productive in
Mm-hmm.
life. So, and the woman in the household, they're supposed to be there, to take care of the housely needs, nurture and just things like that. Not to get into much detail, but just leave it at that.
What about dating? Well, how's your dating life?
It's non-existent, man. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Same, brother.
Yeah,
But
ain't nobody around here in South Georgia.
okay, but can you tell me about give me some things that you've learned from your previous relationships in dating, though.
Well, just some things I've learned. Number one, don't rush into it, because if you
Mm-hmm.
do, God's gonna humble you real quick. I'll get more into that in a minute. The next thing
Mm-hmm.
is like you just pretty much make sure you're equally yoked,
Mm-hmm.
because if you're not, you're gonna be bickering about everything.
Mm-hmm.
The third thing is, and this might be the last thing that's gonna be off the top of my head, is make sure you have similar interests, because if not, you're not gonna keep each other engaged in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. That's some points I've never heard, especially the last one. But I like that. So you said you were gonna mention something later. What was that, or when did you plan on mentioning that?
I mean, I can mention it now. You probably were surprised too that I've been married before, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not a proud thing to admit, but it is what it is. People make mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
Even David made a mistake, getting with
Yeah.
Bathsheba when he was supposed to, but God
Mm-hmm.
forgives, and God was still able to bless him because he
Mm-hmm.
got his heart changed. So I believe that wholeheartedly. So yeah, what do you want me to explain about the marriage again?
I don't want to get too much deep into it. I mean, I want you to share only what you want to share. But you said you've been divorced, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Um,
before hold on just a second. And before anybody says anything, like the audience, um, don't judge me, because I know y'all got skeletons too. So, and I know some people, they break off fellowship, because especially in the Christian community, because for a
yeah.
person been divorced before. So
Hmm.
that's why I said that.
Okay. I don't know what your intentions were, whether to save the marriage or to protect it or try to, reheal it. But what what are some things, as a Christian or even just a normal person, what are some things a person can do to, refrain from getting a divorce or stopping or just trying to maintain a healthy marriage? What are some things somebody could do?
You got to be both willing to
Hmm.
make the sacrifice, and be able to both willingly, put together the effort to make the marriage work, regardless of what's going on. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, in my case, that wasn't it, because again, we weren't equally yoked. We were arguing too
Hmm.
much about where to go to church, doctrine, um, military type stuff, and
Hmm.
unfortunately, it led to me going down to a deep depression again. And I can get to that right now. This is what led to the downfall, and also lack of empathy. I'll get to that
Hmm.
part in a second too. But like, we were arguing back and forth, and I had a couple episodes here and there. It wasn't too bad, just depressive episodes, because I was going through a lot of work. And
Hmm.
sometimes you like to vent to your spouse. Yeah, she wasn't having any of that. And fast forward a little bit, I was able to PCS from, because I'm at Langley at this point. This is 2018. The PCS
Hmm.
from there to New Mexico. And once I get to New Mexico, because we were doing long distance stuff because we were both military. So
Hmm.
once we got there, I didn't last 8 days. And
Mm-hmm.
we were at the restaurant one day, and she already said some stuff to me beforehand. She kept talking about my family in a bad way, kept talking about God in a bad way. It was rough. That's why I was so depressed, because when you cuss God so many times, you can get really discouraged,
Mm-hmm.
especially if somebody's bringing that energy on you all the time on like an hourly basis. She said something out the way again, and I basically gave up and used the
Yeah.
excuse of I wanted to off myself, even though I didn't really want to. Just wanted to get up out of there. But
Mm-hmm.
the depression part, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So once all that was said and done, and she took me to the hospital, and she's cussing me out again, and this, that, and the third. The nurse pulled her out of there, not literally pull her out of there, like physically, but told her to leave. And the
Mm-hmm.
nurse said this: get some help, stay away from this girl because she's not good for you.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, if an outsider says that, you know that's a problem.
Yeah, definitely.
But
Wow.
anyways, it's just the fact that he said I had a choice whether to go to inpatient or not. Most people don't know that. He said, you want
Mm-hmm.
to go to inpatient or no? But I said yes, only because she wanted me to sleep in my car,
Mm-hmm.
because she planned on kicking me out because I was depressed. So with that being said, I ended up going to inpatient for a month. And then after a month, they said I was good to go. I looked at my bank account. It still wasn't enough to get my own rent because my bank account was swiped clean. But that's a different story. So I had to wait. I was there another month in outpatient.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't hear from her until the day I was about to leave, because at this point we still married on paper. So
Mm-hmm.
I got a text saying, oh, you owe me this amount of money. Hey, don't come near me, but you still owe me this amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh wow, she only contacted me because of money. I already gave her enough money to, you know, offset my PCS and stuff. But yeah, it just a whole bunch of financial back and forth, but
Then
it's just the
you're
fact
fine.
that uh, I'm sorry, I ain't trying to get emotional or nothing.
No, you're fine. We can move on from this.
No,
But
you don't have to move on. I can finish.
okay.
It's just the fact that it's just pretty rough that some people have lack of empathy. And again, the first sergeant had to step in and tell me you don't have to give her any more money. I was able to start fresh,
Mm-hmm.
at least somewhat, until my physical health issues started. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm just end it right there.
Now, I hope this question is okay to ask. Now, I mean, from the first moment y'all got married to when all this was happening, it wasn't the same, right? It just changed, right? Or
Uh,
was
I
it the same the whole time?
uh I seen a little bit of red flags when we were dating and
Mm-hmm.
stuff, but it was enough to sweep under the rug,
Mm-hmm.
because I wasn't living with her every day, dating. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean?
Okay. Okay.
But I didn't know I didn't it didn't get this bad until we were married.
Mm-hmm. Understand. Okay. So now let's transition to the future. So, do you
Okay.
see you taking this media stuff anywhere in the future, or do you into movies, or what do you seek to use this for?
Uh, Probably get some gigs with some doing movie work, and also
Mm-hmm.
probably working with like a graphic design corporation, or either film industry somewhere. It
Mm-hmm.
may not be in Valdosta, Georgia. I don't know yet. We'll see where the Lord leads.
Amen. That's awesome. So, I mean, you have a YouTube page. I mean, you wanna give out a shout out to it. And do you seek to grow that YouTube page too, or what's your?
Yeah, I seek to grow it
Mm-hmm.
in the right context. I have 3 YouTube channels actually. Um, One I just started. It's called Robert Goof. It goes over how to deal with mental health as a veteran, and how to deal with chronic illness in the long term. The second
Mm-hmm.
channel is just it's called Matt's Goof. It basically is just recordings of sermons that pastors let me repost. And then the
Mm-hmm.
third channel is called Highway Rob underscore RTOX99, where
Mm-hmm.
I just go around to random cities and tour and things like that, and give and give honest opinion about it, and you can make a choice of whether you want to live there or not.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a pretty decent amount of subscribers on all three of them.
Hmm. I like that. Okay, so what is the future consisted of then? What do you seek to?
Hopefully, in the future, I'll be able to be under the preaching of my mentor. That way, I
Hmm.
can grow just a little bit faster because I'm gonna be transparent. Being here for a little longer than I should, my growth has become stagnant. So I think it's
Hmm.
about time for me to move on. But
Hmm.
for the future and things like that, um, spiritual growth, hopefully be able to find a decent job in film industry and things like that, be able to
Hmm.
make a little bit more money, and then
Hmm.
hopefully in the future be able to have a family, wherever that
Amen.
looks like.
Awesome. Hmm. Yeah, I mean, and I think to the media stuff, I think a good your a segue to improve your skills would be, helping out in your church, maybe like doing videos for them, just stuff like that, like for certain events. But I mean, I enjoy your YouTube videos. I watch them. The one with the do you use what is that the flying things? What is it called?
This is called a drone.
A drone. Yeah. I'm sorry, that word escaped me. But you use that, right?
Yeah, I use it from time to time. Be honest, it got to get fixed, but when it is working, it I fly from time to
Mhm.
time.
Now, do you still have that camera and do you take pictures still, or what do you do?
Yeah, I still take pictures. Before our podcast, we actually well, I actually just recorded a video for my
Hmm.
YouTube, and it'll be up within like a week or two.
Hmm. I like that. So, how often do you post videos? Is it just like every week, or every day, or every hour, every second?
Not every second now. That's too much. But I try to do shorts on my cell phone
Uh-huh.
couple times a week on my Robert Goof channel, and then on
Hmm.
I'm gonna start getting into once a week. I'm gonna do long form videos about
Hmm.
mental health and chronic illness and things like that. Hopefully,
Hmm.
do that once a week.
Okay. So, since you're an aspiring expert in videography and cinema and media, what would be an advice you would share to people that would want to get into that atmosphere?
Have an income lined up first,
Hmm.
and then do the videography as a hobby until the income can supplement, not supplement, but be able to overtake the income from your 9 to 5.
Hmm.
That's a main tip I got for 'em.
I like that. What kind of camera? What do you use that camera to record the same thing? The ones you take pictures with, or do you have something else?
Yeah, and use it for basically everything. So it's a
Hmm.
Canon Rebel T7i, and it's on 1080p. It gets the job done. It's
Hmm.
the same $200 camera I was telling you about um a few minutes ago. So yeah, it's a pretty good camera. High definition.
Hmm.
Can't beat it.
Okay, so as we move on to last couple questions, you also mentioned something about this, sort of in a way, but since there's like a over exceeding amount of suicidal rates and all these things, um, what 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 would you say to somebody that's struggling with that? How would you try to convince them that what life is worth the living?
Well, my way is I'll tell them about Jesus. I'm gonna be honest with you
Amen.
because there's no other way to get up out of that except through Jesus, or also being around a good community of people who's not negative 100% of the time. Because I have been in
Hmm.
environments where people are negative and having drama 100% of the time, because that can contribute to it. So having
Hmm.
good community and telling them that they're worth it, and tell them about Jesus, how he can calm your heart, calm your spirit, and can save your soul and help your mind overcome that those thoughts and feelings, because all it is just temptations. Jesus even
Hmm.
got tempted to kill himself. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So yeah, that's what
Where
I'll
did
do.
you? Where's that at?
Oh, Matthew chapter 4. When the devil tempted went on that high pinnacle, and then he
Oh,
the devil
okay.
said, yeah, the devil told him
To
to
jump
jump
off.
off the pinnacle. Yep. And
Yeah.
let the
I
angels get
mean,
him.
yeah. I wouldn't say he's trying to kill himself, but I understand what you mean. Okay. So, I mean, being in the military, is that something? I mean, I know people have like PTSD and all these Not everybody in the military, but how do they teach you to cope with that or to try to overcome suicidal thoughts?
They give you just a slideshow, death by PowerPoint, of how to
Hmm.
just have community, be around the right people, and
Hmm.
just stuff like that. But I'm gonna be honest, they don't practice it.
Mm.
They when you going through that, they trail you to compartmentalize it and going on about your business. But
Hmm.
they do have PowerPoints and slides and programs about it. But
Hmm.
people don't use it because you at work too much. You can't really
Hmm.
get off and do it.
Hmm.
At least from my
Mm.
experience.
Yeah, that's sad. Hmm. But okay, tell me, what would you tell somebody that wants to join, maybe not the Air Force or just any military branch in general? What lessons will they learn, and what should they be prepared for?
Well, they should be prepared to have tough skin
Hmm.
because you will get talked down to and you can't do anything about it.
Hmm.
So you got to just take it to the chin, say yes, sir, and keep it pushing. As far as
But
like just joining in general, I recommend joining a branch like the Navy or the Air Force that has better quality of living,
hmm.
and make sure you save your money because you don't know when your career is going to end. And also, it's like during your career, again, have the tough skin. Also, make sure you have a cash car to get from A to B,
Hmm.
and then don't eat out all the time.
That's a lesson I need to learn. I mean, I'm not in the military, but I need to learn that. But okay, so okay, so tell me, what would be the best thing somebody would learn if they went to the military versus not somebody that didn't go to the military? Do you understand, or do I need to rephrase it, or?
Again, that goes back to having thicker skin because
Hmm.
you're able to overcome so much out here in this outside world because the
Hmm.
military, you go through so much in there. It's like when you come out the military, you go through something, it's like a normal Tuesday.
Hmm.
So just being able to overcome situations and not taking everything to heart when it comes
Hmm.
by you. Did
Hmm.
I answer your question?
Yeah, you did, you did. Now, does it teach you to become? Do you feel like whenever you come out of the military, you're a more efficient person, a much stronger worker, quick thinker? I mean, just the things that I would think that the military would teach you, is that what you would learn or what you would expect or exemplify whenever you're out of it?
It just depends on the person, how much work they're willing to put in. Because I've seen people get out the military and go to jail. I've seen people get out
Mm.
the military and unfortunately off themselves. I've seen people get
Mm.
out the military and hurt children and stuff. But again, it's and I also seen people in the military, same situation as me, or either same situation as my mentor, doing great things, being a pastor and things like that. Again, it just depends on how much work you're willing to put in and how you treat people and how you treat authority and just things like that and how things line up in your life.
So it kind of sounds like you're saying that it can make you or break you,
Yeah.
per se. Am I correct? Okay. Now, since you've been there, have you noticed that somebody that's went in the military, they could be, mm, I don't know, let's say the worst person ever, and then they turn out to be a totally different person? I mean, kind of like, a person receiving salvation. Have you witnessed that before?
Yeah, my own life. I was about to
Yeah.
get kicked out the Air Force and then
I mean,
got born again.
yeah,
You know what I
amen.
mean?
Yeah, amen.
Yeah.
But that's receiving salvation. I'm talking about just the military in general.
Can you rephrase that? Because I don't think I understand what you mean.
Okay, so religion outside, let's keep that out. Um, let's say somebody, they were a person that did drugs all the time, or stuff like that. The worst person they could be. Have you witnessed somebody that's went there and then after all said and done in the military, change into a productive person to society?
Me personally, no. It just
Hmm.
makes them more of what they are, especially when you
Hmm.
have no money and then you get
Hmm.
money. It just makes you more of what you are.
Hmm.
If you're talking about religion aside, it's about like
Yeah.
if you win the lottery or if you come across a position of power or just things like that. Just
Hmm.
makes you more of who you are.
Wow, that's sad. So salvation does impact in a big way.
It does, at least in my life, and for what
Yeah.
I've seen in others.
Hmm. Amen. All right. As we come to the conclusion of the show, is there anything about you that is interesting, or something that nobody knows? What could that be, or anything you would like to share before we close the show?
I could do a split. What about that?
Can you show us right now?
No,
Do it on the
it,
blackboard and the whiteboard.
no, because it'll look pretty sus. No, thank you.
I mean, to be explicit, I'm sorry, but hey, that's awesome. God has given you a talent that not many men know how to do. So, okay, before we leave, give me what is your favorite quote, or maybe Bible verse, or something, something that is important to you, and what does it mean to you?
Well, I'll go by favorite Bible verse. First
I
Timothy
like that.
2:5.
Hmm.
For there is only one God, one mediator between God and man, the man Christ
Mm,
Jesus. So what that means to me is that pretty much knocks out every little G God around, like Buddha,
hmm.
Hindu,
Yeah.
just
Hmm.
things like that.
Hmm.
People and little G gods like that. So then that's what led to my salvation. I keep that near and dear to my heart.
Amen. That's awesome. Robert, thank you so much for joining the show.